Treasure, we are so happy to have you join us today. Welcome to 40 Top, and we'll go ahead and get started and we'll dive right into the questions. You're about ready to celebrate your first 100 days as state treasurer. Um, how's it been so far?
Well, so far, we really hit the ground running. We had a tremendously successful legislative session. 9 bills that we introduced were signed into law. So it's been a real transformative legislative session for us. Some of my top items that I had campaigned on, I'd run on, we had passed, one of which is the Jumpstart Savings Plan. It's going to be this one-of-a-kind savings program for folks coming out of trade, technical, or community college to be able to save money for after school for tools, equipment, licenses, certifications, and business startup costs. And it's the first of its kind in the country. Nowhere else in the United States right now are they doing something like this. It mirrors a college 529 savings account. And that's just one of the 9 things that we did. We're really pleased with the results this session. And now we're going to move into the implementation phase of that, which is certainly going to be a task that's going to keep us pretty busy.
Talking about, yeah, I read a lot about the Jumpstart Savings Program as it was moving through session, and just drilling down a little bit about that program. So, how will that operate? Is there a board associated with that, or can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. In terms of the setup, I'd say the governmental organization of it will look exactly like a college 529 savings plan, where we have a board. We're going to be working with outside investors to invest the money, same way we do with a college savings plan. But some of the unique differences here is that you can take an income tax deduction as you put money in annually. So there's a $25,000 income tax deduction, maximum allowable income tax deduction. So for instance, if you make, let's say, $75,000 and you put in $25,000 in an annual year, you can reduce your federally adjusted gross income for that year from 75,000 to 50,000. So you pay your income tax based on 50,000 for that year. $25,000 is a lot of money, but that is the cap. So if you put in 5, 10, 2,000, however many dollars, up to 25 grand, you can take that deduction. Then as you take the money out of the account, you can also take an income tax deduction up to $25,000 also. Now, the dollars as they're in the savings plan will grow. You won't pay capital gains tax the same way you do not for a college 529 savings plan. But the program would just be applicable to state capital gains tax, since it's not a federal program at this point. And that's why we had the income tax deduction incentives as well and savings in the program to give it a little bit of a boost. So it will be set up very similar, though, with a board, our investors that we're going to be working with, or financial advisors, very similar to the college savings plan.
That 529 plan is fantastic. I have one for my little girl. She's 5, and it was probably one of the best parenting decisions that I've done so far. So I highly recommend that. So if someone's interested in the Jumpstart Savings Program, when could they open one? When do you anticipate, setting it up for individuals?
Well, we're going through the rulemaking process for the program now, and so what it's going to look like in practice rather than just in policy. And so at some point after the beginning of the second quarter of this year, we'd like to be able to get out to the different schools and talk to them about this and start getting folks signed up for this program. It only will cost $25 to start one. These accounts can stay open, by the way, in perpetuity once they are open. You just have to open one prior to graduation from trade or technical school or community college. It only costs $25 to start one. If you do that and put the $25 in before the age of, by the time you're 18, we will put $100 in for every account that gets open. So we're doing our best here to get people get the program underway and get people saving money for their job or vocation in the future.
And I'm sure as it moves forward in the coming weeks and months, you'll continue to share information about the Jumpstart Savings Program. But we can also, people should be able to check out more information on your website, right? And we'll
Yes.
share that in the slide deck later today. So we'll have your website on a slide and to get people connected directly to your office. So that's wonderful. So kind of transitioning from, a couple key programs. When you think of state treasurer, it's a statewide office, and for individuals that maybe are just moving to the state, or from maybe our young students going through high school and college, can you explain a little bit about being state treasurer, like your day-to-day duties? I mean, what do you oversee? Like, what do you manage?
So I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the state of West Virginia. We have $18 billion in assets under management for the state of West Virginia. So every dollar that goes out from the state comes through this office. Every payment that is made comes through this office. Part of what we do, we are the Bank of West Virginia in that instance. So we have a division here called cash management. As I was just explaining, all of the payments and banking contracts and service contracts in that regard all come through this office. So it's billions of dollars that we are in constant cash flow with. Secondly, we have the Board of Treasury Investment, and that is how we manage the general revenue fund, the general revenue budget here for the state of West Virginia. That's the budget that the legislature passes every year. Now, that assets under management under the Board of Treasury Investment is about $6.5 billion. So these are short-term investments that we're in debt instruments such as commercial paper and things like that to try to make some money as the cash flows from that account as well. So you touched on some of the savings programs that we do. College savings plan, the 529, Jumpstart is a new one. Another new one is going to be educational savings accounts called the Hope Scholarship. That's going to be a new program. We have West Virginia Able, that's for folks living with disabilities. And then we have the 457, which is a retirement plus supplemental plan. So it's a retirement supplemental plan called the 457 Retirement Plus, and that's for public employees here in the state. Additionally, we also have unclaimed property. So we have anytime a piece of property, for whatever reason, may go unclaimed, it comes to our office. Could be a safety deposit box, could be a tax return that went to the wrong address. We have about $300 million in outstanding unclaimed property, and we're going to be advertising that. Our local government specialists are going to be out talking to people in the community. And it's not just individuals, it's also towns and municipalities and local governments that at times can have unclaimed property. We were just in New Haven in Mason County, not too far from you. We just returned $5,000 to the town of New Haven here just recently. So that's some of the programs that we do here. Best way to think about it is, we're kind of the banker of the state of West Virginia. We also finance a number of the programs that we undertake as a state government. So the Economic Development Authority has a revolving loan program where they'll loan money to get businesses underway here in West Virginia. We are the lending institution for that to the Economic Development Authority, which then lets these loans out to private institutions. We're also involved in loan insurance. We did that for Broadband, which was a big deal for us. So There's a lot we're involved with. It's a lot. Any students that might be watching this, we are starting up an internship program here in the office. We want to try to get some of these young folks that are involved in business and finance that might be interested in getting some government experience in here to the office. So certainly check our website and stay tuned on that. We just started a LinkedIn page here recently where we also would be advertising that as well.
Well, I think that's wonderful. And from the Alliance perspective, this collaboration of higher ed institutions, we are talking about a regional internship program. So we would love to explore a partnership with your office treasurer. And I can't talk about internships enough. I had three when I was here many moons ago now at Marshall, but I did intern at the West Virginia legislature, and it was a fantastic experience. I learned so much. So we'll definitely be in contact with you, and would want to educate West Virginia students about internship opportunities with your office for sure.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
and we will advertise that not just on LinkedIn. I mean, we'll go across our social media platforms, and that's WV Treasury is the way that you find that. It's on
Okay.
LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and then I also have Riley Moore, the account out there as well. But look at WV Treasury is really where we're going to advertise those kinds of things on the website as well as wvtreasury.com.
Okay, that's wonderful. We'll definitely check that out. So, thank you so much for like educating. I've even learned a lot about the Office of Treasurer, and so I think that's fantastic. So now we know a little bit about the Office of Treasurer, but can you tell us a little bit about Raleigh the Moore, the man, and like some of your hobbies, and just explain, share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm from Harper's Ferry, down here in Charleston now. I'm with my wife and my two children, my two daughters, and that are very young. My oldest is about to turn 3, and my youngest is not even a year old yet. She's going to be a year old here in June, so she's growing up. And but I still have my home out in the Eastern Panhandle. I literally live down the street from my parents out there, and we are mandated by Constitution to live here in Charleston. And I have family down here as well, which is nice. And we've so far really enjoyed it down here. But in terms of myself as a individual, I started off my career a very long time ago, actually as a welder. That's how I got going, and I did go to college, and I'm probably older than some of the folks that are watching this, but in during that time period, I welded through college and had a shift in kind of my career path, my educational path. I was in college around during 9/11. That really shifted my educational focus more towards national security, political science, government. And I eventually ended up going to work for the government. I was in college down around the Washington, D.C. area, and left welding. Bit of a career jump to go from welding to government. And I worked through that and ended up getting into the defense and aerospace industry after I left government, and which was funny. I was actually working in that a little bit as a welder, but then it ended up being on the corporate side of that. And I'm a former delegate in the West Virginia House of Delegates, now state treasurer. Hobbies, I like to play guitar when I can find time to do that. It's a little more difficult as we've these last 100 days to find any time to play some guitar. But I like to do that. I like to go hiking with my family when we can get out. The weather's starting to get a little bit warmer here now. That's always fun for all of us to get out. I like to hunt. I go out and hunt during hunting season, as I know many of us do here in West Virginia. Um, and trying to think of anything else. And periodically, if I have time, and which time seems to be less and less available. I'll actually, I grew up kind of playing all kinds of different sports, but one of them was skateboarding, and I'm too old to be doing this, but I still do it periodically. You can go onto my Facebook or Twitter or Instagram if you want to see me riding a skateboard. I just did that again recently, so.
That's awesome. You're braver than I am. For sure. Um, so this 40 Tops part of the education series hosted by the Alliance, I mentioned that earlier, and we're a collaboration of higher education institutions. And we're always wanting to partner with the state, take one. We're very project based, results driven, so that we can help the state grow and develop. From your perspective, how do you think higher education can play a role in growing our state's economy?
Well, as I talked about in terms of my past experience, I did work for a Fortune 500 corporation, and I can tell you one of the things when we were looking to put jobs in certain states and locations here in the United States, which I was part of those conversations. Educational attainment is part of that. We wanted to be able to know that we had a populace that would already be educated and be able to onboard into the jobs that we were going to offer. Now, it's not just people that are bending metal and turning wrenches, but we needed, certainly people we needed engineers, we needed accountants, we needed, all of these very critical educated jobs in the higher education, lawyers and everything else. So that I think does help bring jobs to West Virginia as people are looking around for that. That's going to be critical to be able to demonstrate. We only have 25% of our population here in West Virginia that has a college degree currently. That's certainly a number that we want to see move up. I think that's critically important. But as employers are looking to come to different locations in the country, I think that educational attainment is certainly going to be part of that calculus. And I know it's part of it because it was part of our calculus as we were looking around the country to put different facilities for manufacturing or services or otherwise.
Well, and speaking of growing the economy, broadband is such an important aspect around growing our workforce, growing our population,
Yes.
remote working, all of that. Can you talk a little bit about, is your office assisting in the broadband effort? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, we are. So we had these grants that were awarded. They're called RDOF. RDOF is like the rural, it's through USDA. It's like the rural broadband grant program that's out there. And this is trying to help connect the more rural parts of this country. And we were awarded a number of grants here in West Virginia. Different companies are bidding on those grants, and they were awarded different grants. Now, they're going to have to finance these projects. Some of these companies are not as heavily collateralized as different industries might perhaps be. So my office, we provided broadband loan insurance to different companies, up to $80 million, actually. I authorized $80 million of broadband loan insurance to these companies so we can shore up those loans that they're going to be taking out from financial institutions in the state or outside of the state of West Virginia. So this is going to help if there were, and we don't think there would be, but the banks need to be able to hedge their risk as it relates to default. So we are mitigating that risk for those companies because we know broadband is so critically important here to West Virginia. I think during this time of the COVID pandemic, it's become acutely clear that remote work is something that I think is just going to continue to grow even when we're past COVID. And we can't remote work unless we have good connectivity here in the state of West Virginia. I think it's going to attract more people to move to West Virginia. I can tell you just in the Eastern Panhandle out where I am, since COVID, it's hard to find a home out there right now. They are flying off the shelves. People from Virginia, Maryland, DC, New Jersey, from all different parts of the country are moving into the Eastern Panhandle because, if remote work is an option, why would you want to do that in New Jersey or Baltimore or Washington, D.C.? Why wouldn't you want to come to the most beautiful state in the whole country, get better bang for your buck, nicer people, and better quality of life out in West Virginia? I mean, it just makes all the sense in the world. Uh, Not saying people from New Jersey and Baltimore aren't nice, but they're certainly not as nice as us, obviously. So, you
I
know,
agree with that. We have our best asset is our people, and we are special in that way. We are very kind.
no, we have that in spades, obviously. And I mean, our way of life here as West Virginians, people come and visit and they see that, and it's that kind of interaction that you get. I mean, I don't think can be replicated most places. So I think we just have a very compelling case to be able to make. And now that's coupled with this program I saw the governor now roll out here in coordination with Brad Smith of Intuit. Uh, I think it's going to change West Virginia. I think it has the possibility to. And we've seen, from what I understand, uh, tremendous interest in this program that the governor has done with Brad Smith. And so that coupled with broadband, I think is a winning combination.
I couldn't agree more. Very excited about that program and to learn more about it and see how it goes forward. I definitely think we have great potential in our state, and we have a great state now. But just working, coming together, working to build it, grow it, and sustain it. It's a lot of hands on deck, and it's exciting time for West Virginia. It really is.
Absolutely.
Um, well, you've been busy your first 100 days, and I know behind every good man is a great team. And your office has been very accessible, and we appreciate that very much too. So, what does the next 100 days look like for you and your team?
Well, we're going to be incredibly busy because now these 9 bills that I mentioned, we have to write the rules in terms of the implementation of these programs. We're going to have to hire people also to help us administer these programs. So the Hope Scholarship, for instance, that is a program that recently passed the legislature that is going to come to my office. We're going to administer that as prescribed in legislation, which we're excited to do. I think it's a great opportunity. Jumpstart is another program that we're going to be obviously administering. That was one of my top agenda items. The e-pay program that we've put into place, that got passed. That's going to make online payment available for every what they call political subdivision here in the state, so town, municipality, state agency, including the DMV. You're going to be able to pay online. So we have a lot going on. So it's really these bills that were ideas that are now laws, and then making those laws reality in terms of implementation. So we're going to be pretty busy.
Well, it sounds like it. And we know that you're a busy man, and we really appreciate you carving time out to kind of show us a little bit about your office and share a little bit about you and your vision and mission moving forward. So thank you so much for your time, Treasure. It's really been a pleasure to get to know you.
Oh, thank you. Really appreciated the conversation. Thank you so much for having me, and reach back anytime. I'd love to have the opportunity to talk to people about some of the things that we're up to here in the Treasurer's office.
Well, I'm not bashful, so I'll be calling your team and getting another interview set up shortly. So thanks so much.
Sounds great. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
You too.